On today's episode of the Property Edge podcast,
fundamentally, we call it an OC way. There's like a 70% underpinning of tasks or things that every agent needs to do, right? They need to prospect, they need to lead generate, etc. And then you've got the additional 20-30% individual flair that we never, ever want to change because that's what makes everybody so unique. Sometimes the best way to bring people on a journey is through proof. So we need to show the benefits and have internal case studies of how systems or AI has helped an individual. More importantly, from a sales perspective, we're seeing that now correlate into actual sales, listings, and appraisals as well.
hello and welcome to the Property Edge podcast, where we discover the tools, the tech, the AI, and the perspectives that are giving South Australian real estate leaders their edge. And today I'm delighted to be joined by a real local leader. Luke Holden is the sales director of OC, Ouwens Casserly here in Adelaide. Welcome, Luke.
Thanks, Rob. Great to be here.
Now, thanks so much for joining. I'm really excited to speak to you today. Can you just give us an overview of who you are, your background, and then a little bit about OC as well?
Yeah, sure. So just starting with OC, we're an independent agency located here in Adelaide, South Australia. With several what we call hubs and spokes. So we've got approximately 6 geographical offices spread across Adelaide. We're selling approximately from a resi space between 1,300 to 1,400 properties per annum, with a specialist also division that specialises in projects. A rent roll, quite a substantial rent roll that we've built over time as well. I guess my kind of role here, I'm the sales director, also a partner with Nathan and Alex as well in the business on both PM and sales. And my kind of primary function, I guess, is more revenue orientated, whereby I oversee the sales entity and all the agents, but also take care of new business within property management as well. So I have a role to play in terms of the organic growth that we develop within our rent roll. And I guess like from the functions point of view, I still dabble a little bit with sales. It's always good to keep your toe in the water and your finger on the pulse. So still out there doing auctions as well. But I guess like my primary role is really in the development of our people. I play a role in mentoring and coaching some of our staff here internally, developing talent internally, as well as assisting with what we call the onboarding and boarding process of people as they come into the organisation as well. So I really see our agents here at OC as our customers, as our clients. And so my role with my team is really to empower them. And that can be through not only their development, but also the tools and systems and processes and procedures that we put in place to really underpin and help them to succeed and achieve their own goals and aspirations through property as well. So that's kind of my journey with OC and where we're at, yeah.
Yeah, and what I love to hear you mentioned just before we started recording is that you've got a history in software. And so you get the tech space really, really well. So how are decisions made in the software space at OC? What sort of process do you go through? What's your tech team like?
Yeah, I think, I have a very unique background, I guess you could say. I left school early and went into IT in the UK, learning initially into the hardware and infrastructure side of things, but that developed into software engineering. And to roll the clock forward, I ended up living in Australia, setting up a business in Sydney, working with approximately 15 developers across the country, developing software for multiple advertising companies, to be honest. And my role was to go in there to sell the product. That's where the sales background comes in play, to consult with them, and then to develop the product to suit the user's needs as well. So I have, an extensive kind of background. I'm still certified with Microsoft and everything else. But I guess that's kind of really assisted in my role now and where I find myself in that after selling for a number of years, we won't say for how long, but selling real estate for a number of years in both Adelaide and interstate, it's given me a really good appreciation, understanding of the functions of a sales agent. And I think fundamentally we call it an OC way. There's like a 70% underpinning of, I guess you could say, tasks or things that every agent needs to do, right? They need to prospect, they need to lead generate, etc. And then you've got the additional 20-30% individual flair that we never, ever want to change because that's what makes everybody so unique. So my role in terms of decision-making here within OC is really how we can provide greater efficiency within the organisation, how we can really take a holistic approach fundamentally around the customer across all aspects of the business as well. We have an external data consultant that's purely just worked alongside myself and my team to make sure that our CRMs are set up correctly, that we can run repetitive scripts to clean that data so that we can get the best use of any systems we're using. We also have a tech specialist in terms of systems within real estate. That's really at the forefront of development and products, new products worldwide as well. So we get a bit of insight in terms of what's happening internationally as well as nationally. And then we have like a business consultancy as well that sits across our PM and sales. So we really try to partner ourselves with the right people that can help us to make best use of all of our tech stack across our organization. And I think one of the fundamental roles that I identified that we really needed was an implementation specialist. So we actually have somebody in the business that purely just specializes in assisting our agents in terms of the adoption of systems, the adoption of software, but more importantly, customizing that journey for that agent so that the software suits them, not the other way around.
Gotcha.
So with any product that we bring in, we need to make sure that, it facilitates the fundamentals, but it also allows that 20-30% flair. And so, implementation specialists will align themselves with an agent. We call it the boarding process here at OC. We've got the onboarding, which is when somebody comes into the business, they learn about all the people and the organization and everything else. But it's the boarding process that usually lasts for 6 to 12 months in making sure that all the infrastructure around that individual is set up in a way to help them to succeed.
I just find that really interesting, the way you've put it. So in a lot of the conversations we have with agencies and other businesses, it's always about onboarding or boarding on team members to understand how to use the tech and use it the company way. And you've gone the other way, saying we want the tech to facilitate the way the user wants to use it. That's a really different way of looking at it. And I'm sure you're seeing better success with that too.
Absolutely. I mean, since that role was created, we've seen a greater uptake in all systems. So the change management control that we have here has significantly changed. I think the day of when a system becomes available or a product becomes available and you just switch it on, and it's unreasonable, in my opinion, to expect an agent to just sit there and configure a system to work for them. So it's not just about flick a switch. Let's put this plugin into our CRM and expect an agent to facilitate that, because the natural flair of an agent, they're more people-based people, right? We work in a relationship-based industry. And so, tech people at times don't share that same profile. So what we need to do is we need to ensure that our tech stack reflect the agent and not the other way around. And that's where you get better buy-in, better integration, and that's how we get better implementation within the organization, as opposed to leaving to the individual to configure for themselves. Let's really assist them and drive that for them. It's not about taking control. It's just making sure that it's set up in a way that suits and reflects the individual.
There's one issue that we all have. So many subscriptions start adding up and your monthly or annual, your fees start to become a little bit eye-watering. How do you play that area?
Definitely the cost of doing business is getting more expensive, right? And that includes technology as well. And we went through a period of consolidation within our tech stack over the last 2 or 3 years. We've gone from probably 8 or 9 products, and they really pared that down so that we're probably just using 3 or 4, but we're using them much better and we're starting to see the output. So in terms of the decision-making process, yes, we definitely look into the usage of the individual products, because it will do 2 things. One, have we done our job well in terms of the implementation of that product? And what do we need to reflect? So we're constantly trying to review and reflect on what we can do better. But secondly, then look, do we actually need to hold some more workshops? Are the skill sets of these individuals not at the level that we thought? Do we need to actually pare it back? Can we actually accelerate the pace? We have a library within our infrastructure of various training courses which relate to the various products that we do use. And so what we do is we ensure that people are progressing through those courses so that at the very end, they're extremely confident and know exactly what they're doing. And what we're actually seeing internally is a significant increase in the adoption of our products that we've implemented. But more importantly, from a sales perspective, we're seeing that now correlate into actual sales, listings, and appraisals as well. So the greatest way to bring a salesperson on a journey, Rob, is to justify what you're bringing in for them. And we're now starting to show that by having evidence of, a significant increase in the inbound appraisal requests that we're generating through our tech suite. And that includes listings and sales that we're being paid for as well.
So in other words, show me the money and I'll follow what you do.
I think that's the mentality of most salespeople. The best way, as I say, to bring them on the journey is justify how that's going to have a positive influence on their wallet.
That's OC creating these tools, is it?
We call it the OC way. So it's a library of tutorials and training workshops that we've developed internally, which is teaching the agents how to use or adopt the product in their own way.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's a suite of courses that we put together ourselves internally.
I noticed that you'll be opening a Goolwa office in about a month's time. That's about right. So my guess would be that the new team down there, they'd all be given access to all this stuff now and be jumping in, going through those videos, trying to understand the OC way, so that when it opens, they're up and running. They probably already are up and running, aren't they?
They're definitely up and running, and already hitting the goals already. So yeah, it depends on the individual, Rob, to be completely honest with you. We find that some individuals respond better from face to face.
Yep.
And some are comfortable working through, Loom videos or, just reading through tutorials. But that's a great example that you've just touched upon, is that my implementation specialist is just down there constantly helping the team and ensuring we're bringing them up to speed. So they've obviously been introduced into OC, and that comes through people and culture, the marketing department, etc. And then they pass through into our channel, which is the implementation specialist in the sales space, which is making sure that we're now getting them up to speed and making sure the products suit them as well, in terms of how they pitch for business, how they follow up the business, how they're prospecting, etc. So our implementation specialist is down there on a regular basis to bring them up to speed very, very quickly. And as I say, yeah, we're certainly seeing the effects of that, because we're hitting the ground pretty hard there.
Well, perhaps you might give us a bit of a walk through your tech stack. If you're happy to name names, or don't, not fussed, but also how you connect them all together.
Yeah, sure. The connection piece is sometimes the most challenging, to be honest with you. I mean, fundamentally, we always start with two CRMs, and that's your sales CRM, and that's your property management CRM as well. And there's a variety of products that you've got out there for sales. We use Agent Box, to be honest with you. Works really, really well. Probably me in a property management space. But we try to ensure that we've got some sort of connection between the two. So that, for example, Rob, if you were one of our landlords and you're managing 5 properties under OC and I'll meet you on an open inspection, I really want to know about that, because you're a really, really important client to OC. So we're working very, very hard on that kind of connection between all aspects of the organization. And again, fundamentally, any decision that we make, yes, it's all around empowering our agents and everybody else in the organization. But for me, it comes all the way up into that customer experience. So we're really looking at how tech and our tech stack complement and improving our customer experience moving forward. Then you've got the peripheral kind of services that kind of have a two-way, if you like, integration into these various CRMs. And just to keep it really simple, and we have in our sales space, we have a lead generational tool and communication tool that sits across the CRM, uses the data in the CRM, and then presents it to an agent or presents it to a client. We're one of very few agencies, to the best of my knowledge, that now communicates to the client, be that a buyer or a seller, based on information relevant to their search or their journey. So we actually have people in our system that are tagged as downsizers, upsizers, investors, first home buyers, that go through a journey with us to educate them on that journey that comes from the agent in the CRM. So it's a communication that's automated from the agent to start building and developing that relationship. But if we meet a buyer that has certain buyer criteria, we're actually only letting them know about properties that are relevant as well. So we're not actually mass mailing right now a lot of our database. And from that, we've seen a significant drop in unsubscribes in our ecosystem. So again, tying it back into that customer piece, the communication piece to the customer, and the lead generational tool for our agents. And then just on the side of that is we have a product suite that enables our agents to have an end-to-end experience, and the customer as well when they sell a property. So be that with pre-listing, with presenting for the business, with following up for the business, to actually listing the property and doing that electronically as well, to then selling the property, taking offers electronically, bidder registrations electronically, streaming online, finalize an auction, click a button and generate the contract of sale. So we have an end-to-end product suite that I believe we're the only company, in the nation at the moment, I've been told, that are actually using it the most effectively. Where we've heavily invested in that space and make sure it's customized to a certain degree for our OC way. So I'm aware of properties, Rob, that have had 40 offers placed, all of them online. And my question to the agent was, did anybody say anything or have any difficulty doing that? The answer was no. And I'm like, brilliant, because that's what we want. By having this integration, we immediately create efficiencies. So I called an auction on last weekend, just gone. We sold the property at auction. At the click of a button, we're able to convert the bidder registration into a contract for sale, and we'd finish the contract for sale within about 3 to 4 minutes.
It's brilliant, isn't it?
Yeah, we'd usually be sitting around the table, right, and writing all that. So we have a kind of another product, as I say, that's one of the most powerful product suites that we have that just enables our agents to stay focused. It's just in two or three dashboards, if you like. But more importantly, it's just kind of creating better efficiencies across the whole organization.
Yeah, that's brilliant. And something that's a bit of a theme ongoing, it's the use of tech to create efficiencies so that agents can do what they do best, that 30% that we were talking right at the beginning that you mentioned, as opposed to trying to do too much customer stuff that might get in the way, as opposed to actually benefiting the journey.
That's right. And sorry, Rob, just to jump in, I think like the important bit there as well is that the tech products that we use are by no way to replace the relationship piece, which is the most important piece in the whole journey. What they do though, is they provide more meaningful information either to the customer from the agent in an automated or semi-automated fashion, or to make the agent aware of information that may not necessarily be unknown to them that will help that client on their journey as well. So it's none of the products that we've developed or invested in has any intent to take away the most important and critical piece, and that's the relationship. It's more about the empowerment that's more important.
Yeah, that's a good perspective to look at. Well, speaking of that relationship, my next question is about ecosystem. So you have your own first-party ecosystem where you know who they are, they're in your CRM, you talk to them direct, and then you have those paid-for ecosystems or third-party ecosystems like realestate.com. What sort of benefits are you providing to the public to get people to move from that paid-for ecosystem into your own ecosystem? Because if I'm looking for a house, I'm not necessarily just looking for an OC listed house. I'm looking for a house in a specific area that has specific characteristics. And so I will probably go to that third party first. How do you get people to come to you first?
Yeah, exactly. And I think that comes down to a number of things. It starts with a relationship. A relationship is only valuable if it provides value. So we need to make sure that the value that we're providing to the client is what they expect as well. And I think we're also in a climate where expectations have significantly changed. So we're constantly trying to think ahead about that customer journey. And so the customer, again, is the most critical piece in the whole jigsaw. And to prevent you to go to other sources and third parties, or even potentially other agents, right, is I need to make sure that I'm providing the most meaningful relationship with you and I'm providing with information that's relevant. So again, that kind of just comes back into that conversation we had a short while ago in terms of I need to make sure that the journey you're on, I'm providing you information that's relevant to that journey. Otherwise, the relationship's not going to build. You're not going to have trust in me. I've listened to you and I care about that journey and I want to help you to get there.
Yep.
So I think first of all, it's about the relevancy, I guess, and the quality of the journey that we take you on as well. The aspects of the third party, I think, look, no agency is going to sell every property. No agency is going to lease every property. But what we can do by virtue of our kind of the various APIs that are available is that through our ecosystem and through our communication channels, I could let you know of other prospects that suit you. You're still receiving a communication from me, even though the product isn't, or the property is not being sold by me. We're going to let them know about prospects, or did you see 1234 Smith Street available? You know, it's the same principle, but it's just alerting our people to that to make sure that they're actually notifying the individual of that prospect that could suit them as well.
Mm-hmm.
So everything again comes back down to the customer. And so to prevent you from going to other third-party ecosystems, what we need to do is we need to actually embrace those other ecosystems and work out how we can integrate those ecosystems into our own as well. So again, bring you back into that customer journey and that relationship piece. So that's what we do. I mean, like we have a product that will let us know that if I'm working with you, Rob, and you're considering selling your home, but you've got to buy first, I can set up your criteria that if property comes on the market, suiting that criteria and not with me, I can get notified of that. So I can at least reach out and say, hey, Rob, I've actually seen the property. It's not on the market with me, but it's 250 meters away from you. Have you seen that? Maybe it's worth having a look at that over the weekend. And just that connection goes that one step closer to strengthening the relationship.
So something I want to pick up on something you just said was about customer personas. Can you just dive into that a little bit and explain what that means in your business?
Yeah, sure. So not every buyer is the same, right? So not every buyer we're meeting on the weekend is the same. Everybody's on different journeys. Everybody's got different needs and everybody's got different timings. So the simple concept of upsizing or downsizing, investing, or whether you're buying your first home, those are kind of the four, I guess, simple kind of personas that you can look at. And there's sub personas below those as well. Once we kind of know more about the individual and their journey and their timing, we can actually tag a customer, a contact in our CRM with that persona. We have access to a whole array of blogs and we have access to a whole array of communications and media channels that can actually then provide EDMs or communications about that journey. So that includes things like the rate changes and the impact of rate changes as well on that journey as well. It could be talking about stamp duty and the effects of stamp duty on a first home buyer, transfer fees. Are these the kind of things you've considered? So we start providing information and topics that are consistent with that journey. So if I have somebody that's flagged internally in our system as a first home buyer, they're not going to hear from us about downsizing. They're not ready, right? But we also have then the integration pieces whereby if we meet an investor, somebody's actively looking to invest in the Adelaide marketplace, and we can, take them on as an investor, we can actually then take them on another journey, which is just telling them how great we are at OC about looking after that investment as well. So we have a variety of different personas or journeys. Customer journeys is like a simple term, I guess, that we have in our ecosystem that enable us to communicate again on a one-to-one basis or on a more meaningful basis.
Wish list for future tech or data capabilities. Is there something out there, a piece of data, something about consumers or customers, something about properties, something about listings that you don't currently have and that you wish you had?
Yeah, I think this is probably where AI is going to come in the future, to be honest. We're seeing ourselves as potentially an agency that will possibly lead this in the way. So I think AI can provide a role in productivity, but more importantly around the communication piece as well. So first of all, from a communication piece, and again, communicating to our consumers and our clients with relevancy, I think that's where AI will play a part in the future. That there's a direct connection. I could send out an EDM to 1,000 people, but the message will be the same, but the delivery of the content could differ. So I feel that's possibly where, I see a gap in terms of making sure that the way I communicate to certain individuals can fluctuate based on where that person is on their journey. So I think that's possibly something that will be something to watch closely. And then from a holistic point of view internally, and we're already doing this, we're already developing this, and this is more of a bespoke tool, I feel, that's going to be, I feel it's going to be difficult to do this from an industry perspective because not everybody works the same. But what we're trying to do is integrate into a very visual platform, an easily visual platform, what our agents just need to do on a daily basis or weekly basis. And that can include the workflow of a lead as it comes in, the integration at a click of a button to generate the opportunity in the CRM, but automatically send out the pre-listing. to a client, the workflow then into the listing space as well. Whereas I feel in the future, most clients at the moment, if you want to go and look at your health insurance, you can just log into Bupa online, not a problem at all, and get access to everything. So why can't you do that when you're selling one of your greatest assets? So I feel like that kind of like dashboard for an agent and owner is probably going to be, as I say, a bespoke development for a lot of agencies. And that's where the bigger agencies are probably going to get ahead quicker because they probably have the infrastructure, the resources and the people available. But I feel like that dashboard integration for an agent across their own business and seeing how they're performing, how they're performing with their own pipeline, leads, settlements, etc. And then the workflow management as well from a listing so that the consumer can log in. I use AI a lot in my day-to-day life right now, and my little AI bot, we have an internal AI bot, by the way, like at OC, we've developed an internal AI bot that sits in our ecosystem that any of our people can just chat to. And that can be anything around our policies, our procedures. It could be around legislation, and it just gives quick answers straight back. We all use use Chat GPT as well. And even my bot within Chat has my kind of English descendancy, and even occasionally we'll throw in the odd geezer reference as well. So, AI is very intuitive. You got to train it in the right way. But it can be very intuitive. But that's just an example whereby if we know more about our customer, if we know more about where they're going, we can actually start communicating to them in a more one-to-one specific way. So I think in the future, the 1,000 letterbox drops or the 2,000 EDMs that we send out, that'll kind of change massively, and we'll start communicating to people on a more one-to-one basis as opposed to just mass basis.
I think the marketing space is ripe for that, and because of what you said, rather than going one to many, the mass drop email, one to one is brilliant, particularly because your CRM will be filled with a lot of good granular detail about a customer and their needs and their previous experiences. And so the AI has something to work with, which is obviously what it needs to create that one-on-one. So I think you're probably right there. So a final question to you. AI is something that does scare a lot of people, as do new tech tools. How do you get people who are reluctant to use tools to use them?
Great question. I think a lot of people are fearful of change, right? And so too much change too quickly can be very, very scary. So we very much believe here at OC of a plug in and plug out principle. And so with everything we do, we don't position it in any way, shape or form that you must do it this way. If we have an agent that would prefer to work with pen and paper, that's cool. It's not a problem. So we have agents in our business on different journeys. They have different lifestyle aspirations. And so through that, we just need to make sure that we facilitate their needs, not the other way around. So whilst we try to obviously position the benefits of adopting any new product, and whether that's AI or whether it's any new system that we're looking to roll in or roll out of the organization. And incidentally, like we even have within our sales page, we actually have a committee, which is basically representatives of agents nominated by other people in the organization to sit there as a conduit between somebody on the floor and the leadership team so that we can actually speak with them. And so, look, we're thinking about doing this, and this. What are your thoughts? And they can go off to share those views with the team so that the whole team can become a part of the journey. So that change management is absolutely critical. So change can be fearful, but sometimes the best way to bring people on a journey is through proof. So we need to show the benefits and have internal case studies of how systems or AI has helped an individual. And then sometimes you get to the point where the people who are reluctant to change, FOMO kicks in.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when they start becoming a little bit more embracive. But again, everything at everyone's pace. It's not like we're walking in day one saying, this is the way, you must do this. On the contrary, like we're actually saying, look, this is where we can see the industry going. This is where we see consumer need going. We're going to provide you an ecosystem and infrastructure to do that. If you want to get on the train now, great. But if you want to come on later, that's cool by us as well. So be respectful of every individual you have in your organization start small, and use case studies and social proof to help justify and bring people on the journey later.
Luke, we might leave it there. Thank you so much for your insights today. I think the team here at Property Edge at Land Services will be really interested to dive into this podcast. You've created a lot of interesting perspectives and learnings. To the people listening, thank you for listening today. If you do like what you hear, please do visit propertyedge.app to learn more about this podcast and also our property research platform. Luke, thank you so much for joining us today.
Pleasure. Thanks for having me, Rob.
Thank you. And thanks, everyone. We'll see you in the next episode. Bye-bye.